When Jonas called her, her first thought was, no, this is too crazy. Some opportunities are clear and make sense to jump into, but for Fabi and Ernie, this opportunity would push her way out of her comfort zone. But in the process, it created something completely unexpected. Female lead vocalist and harpist for Swiss folk metal band eluveitie and lead vocalist and founder of Swiss metal band illumishade. Fabi was thrown into cold water while still in university and had to make some very scary decisions that would completely change her life. Look out, gym rockers, this one's coming in hot. Fabi is from the beautiful mountainous country of Switzerland. She didn't come from a musical family. In fact, none of her parents were really into music, but she and her brother loved music. In fact, when anyone asked her what she wanted to be when she grew up, she would always say that she wanted to sing. She played a cornet, which is similar to a trumpet, and at 12, she also learned how to play guitar and piano. Around this time, her music teacher asked Fabi if she wanted to record a few demos. That's when Fabi realized that she truly enjoyed singing. When she was a teen, she would come home and play karaoke loud and sing. At 15, she studied complete vocal technique in a school in Copenhagen for 3 months. She actually trained as a pop singer. At 16, Fabi had an amazing singing teacher who taught her different vocal techniques. Fabi still credits this teacher to this day for her success as a musician. But Fabi didn't want to sing as a hobby. She wanted it to be the biggest part of her life. And for that, she needed to be able to make a living out of music, a job out of singing. So she decided to study and become a vocal coach. Fun fact, her favorite singer in the metal scene is Flo Jansen, who she says is incredible and versatile. And one of her biggest inspirations is Eva Cassidy. Fabi studied in a Zurich University to become a teacher and also for 1 year in Sweden, which she absolutely loved for its nature, language and people. Fun fact, Fabi has a thing for northern countries and cultures, like England, Ireland, Scotland and Scandinavia. She would love to move to a Nordic country someday. Not now with her bands, then maybe when she's 50. She would like to move to a house in the middle of nowhere or maybe a little Airbnb. She also loves Scottish cows. If you enjoy inspiring stories of fit rock and metal musicians, be sure to hit that subscribe button.
Do it, bitch.
She was a wedding singer, played in a few school bands, and also started to teach singing. Fabi completed her master's degree in music pedagogy to become a vocal teacher. But hold up, before that, Fabi was thrown in at the deep end and faced a major crossroad in her life. You see, fate came knocking at her door and she had to make a decision that would shake her world. Let's rewind to 2017. Wolf, guitarist for eluveitie, happened to be in the same school as Fabi. He had finished school 5 years before her, but was teaching there in the same Zurich University. They knew each other and Jonas thought that Fabi would be a great fit for his band, who happened to be looking for a new singer. Fabi recorded a video singing a Disney song, and a call was set up with Rigel, founder of eluveitie. She then sent a raw demo of one of eluveitie songs, Call of the Mountain, recorded on her phone, and the band really liked her. Now, eluveitie was already a big name, having won many awards and put out albums that were peaking on Swiss and German charts, touring in big festivals all over the world. 3 months after Fabi's audition, they picked her to be their new vocalist. But Fabi was scared. She basically had 1 month before their big performance. There were over 1,000 people and she had never performed in front of such a big crowd before. Connecting with the audience, being on social media, using in-ear monitors that she'd never used before, she had to step into the massive footsteps of the previous vocalist and was worried if people would actually accept her. They hadn't even rehearsed much. When Jonas called her, her first thought was, no, this is too crazy. I don't think I can do this. From a wedding singer who never really listened to metal, to headbanging and singing in a metal band in front of thousands of people, what the fuck. But opportunities like this don't come often, and Fabi made a very bold decision to go all in. While the fans mostly gave her a warm welcome, being in such a big band really taught Fabi how to handle hate and negativity. Not only did she put aside her fears, In 1 month, she learned how to play the Celtic harp for the band and learned how to sing in an ancient extinct dialect called Gaulish. Gaulish was spoken before and during the period of the Roman Empire in certain parts of Europe, including what is now known as Switzerland. Since Swiss German was Fabi's mother tongue, and the roots of many Swiss German words come from Celtic Gaulish, it was easier for Fabi to master vocal pronunciations. That was still freaking badass. Speaking of fears, she's afraid of snakes, but would never actually hurt one. Fun fact, she loves singing in different languages. In fact, for a Russian tour, she learned an entire song in Russian and had people help her with vocal pronunciation. If she hadn't joined eluveitie, she would probably have studied ethnology because she's always been interested in people, tribes, culture, and world music. She'd still be singing anyway, maybe for a smaller crowd, but still with the same kind of joy and passion. Despite Fabi's fears, she appeared to step into eluveity's role as lead vocalist and harpist effortlessly. Fun fact, eluveitie was Fabi's first introduction to metal. Yep, her first metal concert was the band that had just hired her. But she embraced metal and she feels very comfortable in this community. The first festival she played at was in Istanbul, Turkey in an outdoor tent. But how did she manage touring with university? Let's jump to 2019. eluveitie had one of its busiest tour years. It was also the year they toured with Lacuna Coil and Infected Rain. To add to the mayhem, Fabi had to complete a thesis for her master's degree. She needed to create a project, and her task was to create a concept, a band, and to play live for around 40 minutes. It could be a choir, anything really, but she wanted it to be metal. So, in the midst of touring, she brought together musicians, including Jonas, all of whom had studied with her in the same university for 5 years, and formed a band called Illumishade. It was one of the most intense periods of her life. She had her MIDI piano with her everywhere, on the plane, on the bus, backstage, in hotels, on and off tours, on festivals, before and after shows, constantly composing music. They set up a crowdsourcing campaign to fund their first album. Not only did they meet their crowdfunding goal, they exceeded it and went on to create their first album, which by the way is kick-ass. Interesting fact, Fabi cannot compose music if there's no story behind it. She's always been a huge fan of fantasy, musicals and theatre. So she took Illumishade a step further and hired a concept writer who also happens to be a metal fan to create an entire fictional fantasy world and website around the album. Super cool, it even has tribes and you can do a quiz to find out which tribe you belong to. I love Illumishade, especially Jonas's work on the guitar. So, what started as a master's thesis turned out to be a very successful band for Fabi. The band members loved the dynamic of the group so much that they just didn't want to stop. Let's fast forward to now. Fabi calls herself a former couch potato. Hard to believe since she's so fit and active. She says working out has been one of the best things that have ever happened to her. She feels grateful, energized, and more focused than she's ever been. Fabi credits Zen Move with their 12-minute full-body circuit-style workouts for kicking her butt. It's a combination of weights, cardio, core, and power followed by 12 minutes of relaxation, which is great for performing musicians. I mean, she's killing it on stage. On tour, as long as she doesn't have a cold, she's happy. During the dark, cold months, she tries to get out and get fresh air and sunlight as much as possible to stay healthy. Otherwise, several weeks of staying in the clubs performing all day can be really tough. Especially since most concert venues are usually in industrial areas or in the heart of the city, it's so hard to find nature. She also constantly hydrates and carries her singing tea with her, gets a lot of sleep, no partying, and always wears a scarf during the cold months to prevent catching a cold. In addition to her 12-minute workouts, Fabi loves hiking and walking in nature. She sometimes walks up to 2 to 3 hours just exploring new places. Fun fact, she loves every season, but winter is her favorite. What? Am I the only one who hates winter? She loves visiting Christmas markets. She even gives her tour bus a complete Christmas makeover, which is adorable. In the autumn, she likes cruising around on a kickboard through the city and spends her evenings watching Harry Potter, which by the way she is completely obsessed with. Yup, those are Harry Potter socks. And she drinks water out of a Hufflepuff bottle that her patrons gave her. She also loves the Terminator and Disney movies, especially Lion King. Fabi regularly meditates and does yoga sometimes. Now, she turned vegetarian when she was 13. Both her parents and her brother turned vegetarian too. For Fabi, it happened at cooking school when they had a vegetarian theme. She came home and told her mother that she would eat one more meat pizza and then be done with meat. But she wasn't feeling so great. She was sluggish and something didn't quite feel right. And that's when her brother gave her a book that completely changed her thinking. She realized that the overdose of milk and Swiss cheese was causing her to not feel so great. That's when she turned vegan and absolutely loves it. Fabi did a couple of things to help her grow her presence faster. One, she started a Patreon to connect with her audience, and it is now a thriving community. Two, she finally built up the courage to start a YouTube channel. She's covered Gojira, Architects, and Foo Fighters. Lastly, she interviewed some really cool names in the metal scene, like Lena Scissorhands from Infected Rain, Heidi from Butcher Babies, Clementine from Visions of Atlantis, Melissa Bonney, Cobra Page, and more. Doing any one of the things that Fabi has accomplished takes a lot of balls. She went from wanting to be a singing teacher in 2017 to accomplishing all of this in just a few years. Fucking A. Pushing her fears aside because her passion for living through music is so strong. The other skill that Fabi did to further her success was networking. She brought together musicians who she studied with to create a world-class band. Her best friend is the manager of the band. Reaching out to all those amazing metal musicians to interview them gave her exposure to their fan base. Work smart. Fabi's advice to musicians starting out: don't be afraid. Take the step. She was really scared when she was asked to join eluveitie. Huge challenge, but she took it. So take those risks, my friends. It doesn't matter what path you're taking. Fear is the only thing stopping you. Fuck what people think and have patience. It's a long game. I hope Fabienne's story has inspired you to push aside your fears and pursue your dream. If you enjoy watching inspiring stories of fit metal musicians, make sure you subscribe to my channel.